How's it going, everybody? Welcome to We Do Tech. I do hope you guys had a wonderful weekend, but it's time for another tech news video. And in today's video, we're gonna go over a new monitor from ASUS, a message from the creator of USB. We do also have apparently Intel lowering their prices. I wonder why that could be. And then also a really long story on AMD and China because of the US ban. But that one will be at the end because it's quite long and there's a lot of detail involved. So stay tuned for that. Then starting off with our first topic, it's super interesting and you guys are gonna love it. And it is Bitcoin has reached over $11,000 in the week we covered, $2,000 more. It's mostly because of the Facebook Libra cryptocurrency, which is being implemented. So that is pretty much it. Now, moving on. Now, if you're in the market for a new top-of-the-range gaming monitor, then ASUS does have you covered because they recently released the ROG Swift PG35VQ, a 35-inch ultrawide with a resolution of 3840 by 1440p. It has G-Sync HDR, and then also it has a refresh rate of 200 Hz, which is quite baffling. So the PG35VQ has a curved VA panel using quantum dot tech. ASUS also claims that it does cover 90% of the DCI-P3 color gamut, which is quite good, especially for a VA gaming monitor. However, this little boy is not gonna be cheap. It's apparently gonna cost £2,700 in the UK and over $3,400 in the US. I don't even want to imagine how much it's gonna cost here in South Africa because we have a 35% tax fee on that as well. So I most likely need to go and sell my lung, not my kidneys, because that's not gonna be even worth it. So yeah. Then getting into our next topic, Intel is reportedly going to lower their prices. So a recent report from Digitime suggests that Intel is planning to drop its 8th and 9th generation CPUs by between 10 to 15%. And I wonder why that is. It couldn't possibly be due to Ryzen 3000 being launched next month. Maybe something else, I'm not too sure. Also, at a recent Inventors Day, Intel said that it's going to lower its 60% plus gross margin goals that it had and plans on slashing its revenue as well in 2019 by $2.5 billion. And the reason for that, and this is their words, increased competitive pressure, which is, I wonder who that could be again. Now, however, even though they are dropping their prices, we might not even see that. Maybe only the OEMs will actually get that reduction in prices. So we might only see a couple of dollars here and there, not even close to that 10 to 15%. So it's, yeah. And then probably the most asked question in the history of tech, why is USB not multi-connectable? I don't know if that's a word. Like, why can't you plug it both ways in like the USB Type-C currently? Because at the moment, if you want to plug something in, plug it one way, doesn't work. Plug it the other way, doesn't work. And then finally, it was the first way again. It's pretty much only like a 10% chance if you succeeded on your first try. So finally, somebody asked the creator of USB, Ajay Pahat, why it isn't like that. And apparently it's just to do with cost. When they developed the first USB connection, they wanted to make it universal, which is the name, and make it a major adoption throughout all of the industry. And the only way they're able to do that is by lowering the cost. And if they did make it that you could plug it in either way around, it would have double the cost of the connection, because then it would have needed extra circuits and wires, and it would just make it almost double the expense, and they couldn't have that. So it's a simple answer, but yeah, it's just to do with cost. So at least we are making some progress in the USB department. We have Type-C now, which is multi-connectable. Connectable? I'm not even sure that's a word. And then also we're getting rid of USB 3.2 Gen 2X2 and just getting USB 4. So much simpler. Then for our second last topic, scientists at Lancaster University in the UK have obtained a patent in the US for a new electronic memory device that could reduce the power consumption by a fifth. Apparently, it's still in production and we're not going to see it anytime soon. However, if they are actually able to implement this, this could replace the $10 billion market for a DRAM and reduce the power consumption again by a fifth, which is actually quite significant because a normal like gaming PCs and house PCs, it's not really that crazy the power consumption, but for data centers having just thousands and thousands of storage devices and so on, it does draw quite a bit of power. So having that, it might reduce the power consumption quite a. So then for our final topic, and again this one is quite long, there's a lot of detail involved in everything, but it's not good news for AMD and for China because of course the US trade ban thing. So recently, the US government added AMD's joint ventures to the list of companies that US-based companies can't work with. Now, if you didn't know what Thantic is, I also didn't before this, it is a holding company between AMD and multiple Chinese private and public companies to develop customized x86-based chips to the Chinese market. Because like I mentioned in Friday's video, China doesn't really have their own dedicated CPU market. There's the one which I can't remember the name of again, but that is pretty much it. They mostly focus on AMD, Intel, and then IBM, especially for servers. So this company was established to help China not be so reliant on the US companies and do their own thing, which is kind of backfiring now. So in the process, two joint ventures was formed to help develop these chips inside China. And I'm sorry about the names, I can't really pronounce it properly. But firstly, Shenghong Microelectronics Technology, which designs the new chips and is owned 51% by AMD and 49% by Thantic. So AMD owns majority of this company and they design the chips. Now because they do own the majority, they don't have to out-license their current architecture. They can just pretty much reform it there and it's not going to cost them as much. And also mostly is developed on the Zen architecture, which we all know because Zen 2 is also coming out, but we'll get into that. Now, as for the second company is also Chengdong Hangang, but it's Integrated Circuit Design. So that's the second company, which then designs and sell the chips in China to all of the different companies. Now, this one is owned 30% by AMD and then 70% by Thantic. Now, the reason why Thantic owns 70% and AMD only 30% is because the Chinese government wants full control over most of the companies. If it's an international company, they don't really have that much control, but if it's mostly inside China, then they can pretty much control a lot of factors on the companies, like who they sell for, who they can't sell for, and so on. So that's the main reason. Now, with all of those details out of the way, why is it that US government is specifically putting Thantic on the ban along with Huawei and ZTE? And the reason for this is because a lot of these CPUs are sold to companies working for or with China's People's Liberation Army, which is the military. And of course, the US government doesn't really like this. So if they're crippling that department, it could put a massive blow on the Chinese military, which is increasing rapidly. Shugon, which is the company that mostly deals with the US government, has actually developed 10 out of China's 20 supercomputers. However, those ones use between like AMD, Intel, and Nvidia parts. But if they scrap this entirely, then they're not going to get access to any of those CPUs, and they're not going to be able to increase their power for world domination. Now, crippling the Chinese military isn't the only reason why the US is doing this. They're also doing this because of security concerns, because they're accessing really high-end CPUs that they can kind of develop themselves or redesign themselves to do whatever with. So it is also a security concern for that, not only for military, but also for other applications. So that's also quite a big reason, which is actually quite understandable to me. I don't know about you guys, let me know down in the comments. But now also at Computex 2019, AMD's CEO Dr. Lisa Su confirmed with Tom's Hardware that they are not licensing their new CPU designs to THATIC. So that means that THATIC is only going to be able to use the first generation Zen architecture, and again, they're probably not going to be able to use it anymore. So they're not going to get any of the Zen 2 like the new Ryzen 3000 or even the Epic Rome server CPUs. So they're not going to be able to make their servers a lot faster with these new CPUs. However, AMD is not the only company selling or outsourcing their CPUs to China. Intel is also doing it with a partnership with the Tsinghua University. I'm sorry about the name scheme, I have no idea how to pronounce that. So they're working with the university, which again also has really close ties to the US government, and then also Montage Technology Global Holdings, which is a Chinese server vendor. However, Intel doesn't allow them access to the core IP, whereas AMD does, so they don't have full control over the CPUs. Now currently Montage is not banned or put on the US ban list, however we'll have to wait and see. Because I mean, if they get rid of THATIC and then now Montage, then then China is not really gonna have any more CPUs. Maybe IBM or some ARM chips, but none of them are really anywhere close to the chips that Intel and AMD produces. So that could be a huge impact on the Chinese market, but we'll have to wait and see. So that's pretty much it for today's tech news video. I do hope you guys enjoyed, especially this a long one. It was just quite interesting to see what's going on there. I was still surprised that China doesn't have their own like big CPU development really going on. There's the one, which again I can't pronounce anymore, but yeah, it's quite interesting. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this? What do you think on Bitcoin, on Intel lowering the prices, and then also on this? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and comment like always. And I'll check all of you guys next time. Cheers, guys.